take a good look at this building. This is Cocoa House, standing tall in the heart of Ibadan. Now, for just a moment, I want you to forget everything you know about oil money. Forget about federal allocations from Abuja. This skyscraper, this monument, was built with something far more real: the sweat of farmers and the wealth of our own soil. This is the story of that building, a story of incredible pride, a devastating betrayal, and what it tells us about Nigeria today. You know, when this 26-story giant opened its doors back in 1965, it was the tallest building in all of tropical Africa. But it was so much more than just concrete and steel. It was a symbol. It was a promise. It was a declaration that our agricultural wealth, our own hard work, could build a modern nation, funding everything from this skyscraper to the very first television station in Africa. It was our ingenuity, our future, built by our hands. And the farmers who paid for it, the ones whose harvests built it brick by brick, they had a special name for it: Owuwo Ti. The building's so tall, you'd look up so high, your cap would just fall right off your head. Can you even imagine that feeling? That pride? Seeing the proof of your labor literally touching the sky? I want you to hold on to that feeling, because we need to talk about how we let it all slip away. So, how did we go from that peak, from that incredible moment of pride, to where we are today? This isn't just about a building anymore. It's about the complete collapse of the economic engine that built it. Look, the scale of this fall is just staggering. Back in the 1960s, we were the #2 cocoa producer on the entire planet. Cocoa was half of our total national exports. It built everything. Today, we've slipped all the way down to 5th place. And yeah, the tonnage might look a little higher, but as a piece of the global pie, as a piece of our own economy, it's just a shadow, a ghost of what it once was. So how did this happen? Well, the timeline tells a story of 2 fatal blows. First, the oil boom in the 70s. We found easy money under the ground, so we got lazy and we completely abandoned the wealth that grew on top of it. And then came the final betrayal. In 1986, the government dissolved the Cocoa Marketing Board. It was supposed to liberalize the market, but what it really did was rip out the entire safety net from under the farmers, leaving them and the entire industry to collapse. But here's the thing. Our own mistakes, our own neglect, that's only half the story. The truth is, our decline fits perfectly into a global system that feels like it was designed from the very beginning to keep cocoa-growing nations poor. Just look right next door. Look at Côte d'Ivoire. Their production is 5 times what ours is. They control almost 40% of the world's entire supply. But the really crucial number, the one that should make us angry, is that last line: local processing. While we've been busy exporting raw, unprocessed beans for decades, they made a choice. They strategically built an industry to process over half of their crop right there at home. They captured the value we just give away. They kept their system regulated. We chose a free-for-all. And well, the results speak for themselves. And this is where the story becomes a crime. This is the brutal, maddening irony of it all. Switzerland grows 0 cocoa beans. Let me say that again, not 1. Yet their chocolate industry generated over 2 billion Swiss francs in revenue. Meanwhile, Nigeria, with all our land, all our farms, and all our farmers, brought in about $780 million during a massive export surge. The country with no trees makes billions. The country that built a skyscraper from its beans earns a fraction. This is not economics. This is an extraction. So let's break that down. Let's follow the money and see exactly how this crime works. Because the value isn't just lost, it's actively taken from us at every single step of the chain. Think about this the next time you see a chocolate bar. For every single one sold, the farmer, the person who does the backbreaking, year-round work, gets a pathetic 6.6% of the final price. Almost 80% of the value is captured by manufacturers and retailers in Europe and America. We do the hardest work for the smallest, most insulting reward. And the price of our failure to capture that value for ourselves? It's a number that should keep us up at night. $2 billion. That is the amount of money Nigeria essentially sets on fire every single year by shipping our raw beans overseas instead of turning them into valuable products right here at home. It's a massive, self-inflicted economic wound that just keeps bleeding. And you might be asking, well, why don't we just process more? Because the system is specifically designed to stop us. Europe welcomes our raw beans with open arms, 0% tariff. But the second we try to add value, the second we process those beans into cocoa cake or butter to make more money, bam, they slap on a tariff. They've built a financial wall designed to keep us as simple farmers and them as the wealthy industrialists. Now, in the midst of all this, you might have heard some seemingly good news. Global cocoa prices went through the roof, and because our market is so unregulated, Nigerian export values surged by an insane 606% in late 2024. For a brief moment, it actually felt like a win. But let's be very clear about this. We just got lucky. It wasn't a strategy, it wasn't a plan. While our neighbors were locked into selling their cocoa at lower pre-agreed prices, our chaotic system allowed our farmers to cash in on the high prices. It was a fluke, a temporary win in a fundamentally broken system that leaves us completely vulnerable for the next price crash. Because behind all of these numbers, the billions of dollars, the millions of tons, the percentage points, there is a profound human price being paid. There's a crisis unfolding right now on the very farms that built this nation. The average Nigerian cocoa farmer today is 60 years old. Just let that sink in for a second. An entire generation is dying out. And their children, they want no part of this life. They're leaving for the cities, for illegal mining, for any job other than the poverty they watch their parents endure. Even the trees themselves are old and tired, planted decades ago, now yielding a fraction of what's possible. This isn't just an industry in decline. It's a way of life that is on the verge of extinction. Which brings us right back to where we started, back to that proud skyscraper in Ibadan, and back to the choice that Nigeria now faces. You know, there is a path back from this. The government has set ambitious new targets. If we could process just half of our own cocoa, we could generate billions in new revenue. Experts believe we could reclaim our #2 spot in the world in just 5 years. The potential is there. It has always been there. The question, as always, is about the will. So the final question is this. Cocoa House was once Owuwo Ti fila, the building that made your cap fall off with pride, a monument to what we as a people could achieve with the wealth of our own soil. After all these decades of neglect, of betrayal, will we finally fight to rebuild the industry it stands for? Or are we content to let this proud monument become a tombstone, a silent reminder of a golden age we let die?